aware of Jews being a different kind of people?
I knew that in Indonesia already.
Before you went to the synagogue?
I don't know.
Or was the visit of the synagogue the first instant in which you realized that, yeah, there's some other religion here, there's some other...
No, I knew it in grammar school. In the, in grammar school.
I wanted to find out a little bit about how you realize that there are Jews and that they're different or not so different, but you know, all of the aspects of what basically leads us to how they are being killed and things like that.
Well, the social life in Indonesia was at the swimming pool. When the government built a municipal swimming pool in Palembang, all the children whose parents could afford it would take out a membership and you go there on your bicycle and you go swim. So I went to grammar school and I was never good in school. I always failed, grades and always. I don't know what was wrong with me, but I was a bright child, but I failed every class. Audrey since that has discovered at least, well, since my 70s that I'm dyslexic, but that they didn't know about that in those days. Anyway, there was always a girl in the classrooms that I went, first grade, second, third, and so on. There was always, of course, some girls who were brighter than I was, who had straight A's and B's and not the failing grades like I had, C's and F's. Are you kidding? Anyway, there was this girl, I think it was fourth grade, and she had straight A's and I had straight F's, really. And so the teachers always tried me to put with these girls who were bright, and nobody understood why I was so stupid, but I think maybe they thought I had the wrong methods of studying, my homework. Anyway, I wasn't interested anyway. But so this girl, she was the brightest in the class, and I don't know how I knew that she was Jewish, but her name was Corrie van Doorninck. And well, one day I came to the swimming pool, and there was nobody there really, and there were not many people there. I don't know why. Maybe it was a cloudy day, I don't know. But there was one part in the swimming pool building that was for children, and one for the deep part for the grown-ups. Anyway, I thought wonderful, and not lots of grown-ups. Now I can do a lot of swimming and splash in the children's part. It was really for smaller children, but Eddie Corrie was there, so I went there, I dived in it, and so we were talking about and saying, and I knew she was Jewish, but how I got to learn that, I don't know, except I knew she had the best marks in the classroom at school, public school, and so she asked, we started a conversation, and suddenly she said to me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Oh, I said, I want to get married, and I want to have a house in the mountains. I want to be the wife of a planter, because I thought these guys from the Nova friends and clients of my father lived a wonderful life, because they lived in the mountains where it was nice and cool, between the tea and the coffee and quinine plantation and rubber plantations, but particularly the coffee and tea was delicious smells. Anyway, So I said, yeah, and I want the perfect house, I said. I want everything perfect, and the house clean, and everything, and a husband and children, and all. No, and she's splashing and swimming there. She said, I don't. And she said, I want to be a doctor. I was flabbergasted. Who the hell wants to be a doctor? She wanted to be a doctor, and I looked at her, and while she was diving and do all that fun stuff, and then I thought, no, who the hell wants to be a doctor? And I thought her healing people, you know, and all that. And then, so when I came home later at dinner, my father asked me, well, how was your afternoon? Who was there? And I said how Corrie van Doorninck was there, and she was in my class, and my father knew that she was very bright. He had heard about, he was always embarrassed about my marks, my dumbness. And so I said, well, she talked about her future. She wants to be a doctor. And I told her I just want to be the wife of a planter and have lots, perfect house with lots of children and servants. And who wants Corrie to be? Corrie wants to be a doctor, I said. She wants to be a healer, I said. She wants to be like Jesus Christ. And I remember my father saying, well, she's Jewish. I couldn't believe it, because immediately in my mind is, what difference does that make? But apparently it makes a big difference to somebody like my father, because this girl wanted a career, you know, and be useful to humanity. It's very important in my life, because through my whole life I have found the Jews to be that way. They always want to do something useful, that want to be a contribution to humanity or to wisdom or something like that. And so I never forgot that conversation, and my father suddenly saying, well, she's Jewish. And I thought there was something in his voice and the way he said it, that she was different. That she was different certainly from me, and that she was also different from other people. And I never forgot it, my father saying that, well, she's Jewish. And then I realized for the first time that the Jews there was something special about them, you see? Yeah, I remember that, of course, later it was different. I got more instances like that. But now I realize that the Jews are that they, I wonder what this world would be like without Jews. I really do, because time and again in my life this has come up.